Welcome to Positively Texas with host Iola Johnson.
Good morning, and thank you very much for tuning in today. First, in the book, SCHUYLER'S Monster, author Robert Rummel-Hudson takes a look inside his daughter Schuyler's silent world. He joins us this morning to talk about the struggles and the successes when searching for the monster behind his daughter's silence. Welcome, and first of all, let's talk about Schuyler. She was 18 months old, still hadn't said a word. What were you thinking at that point?
Well, it's funny, when I look back on it now, I'd never had this is my first child, it's my only child. I didn't have a lot of experience with kids, so I think it sort of snuck up on me because it sounds silly to say now, I had no idea that at 18 months you were supposed to be talking.
Babbling.
So as far as I was concerned, we had this
quiet
just this normal, quiet child. And then our pediatrician started asking us questions about, was she starting to try and put together words? Was she starting to kind of experiment with sounds?
Right.
And she was a little bit, but not really, and certainly not what they thought that she was. So, it actually kind of snuck up on us in that sense. And all of a sudden, we went from having this child that we thought was perfectly normal, like every other kid out there, to thinking that maybe that she was deaf, or that we had no idea what the problem was. The eventual diagnosis was a brain malformation. It's called polymicrogyria, is the big, long mouthful of medicalese. And basically, it's a malformation of parts of the brain. And some kids who get it can actually suffer some really serious symptoms. Seizures, some level of mental retardation.
And Schuyler had none of those.
Schuyler's been, in some ways, she's lucky in a certain sense. For Schuyler, it hits her speech area. It keeps her from being able to form hard consonants. She can get vowels. She can get a few soft consonants. But for her, it's primarily a speech issue.
Right. You call it a monster. Why?
I think part of that was just my own lack of any sort of medical or scientific background. It was a way to kind of put a face, to put something tangible to this very sketchy. It was it was something we could see on an MRI scan, but it was hard to conceptualize. But when I started thinking of a monster, of a thing that had sort of taken up residence inside her, it made it a little bit easier to conceptualize. And then as a writer, it worked out pretty well.
What was the treatment for?
There wasn't really, in her case, there wasn't treatment so much as therapy. Okay. It's a static condition. This is the brain that she was born with, and it's not going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's a congenital condition, but for her, it's more of therapies, of speech therapies and whatnot. For some of the kids who have it, who get seizures, and they can be pretty serious seizures, that's a whole other realm.
She's 8 years old now?
Yeah, she just turned 8.
Yeah, how is she communicating?
She communicates. She uses an electronic device with a touch screen that will allow her to put together sentences, and then it will speak those sentences for her and kind of guides her through language. She also uses a little bit of sign language. Unfortunately for her, her condition also hits her fine motor areas. So really intricate signs that using finger symbols and whatnot are hard for her. And she does verbalize. She verbalizes a lot. People who think we have a quiet household.
Now, you wrote a book. What made you decide to write this book, and who'd you write it for?
I was writing a blog through a lot of the time that Schuyler was that we were going, learning what she had and going through the different steps. And I was getting I was hearing from a lot of people who were in similar situations. Okay. So eventually it made sense to try and reach more people who are going through something like this.
So this is for parents who have children in similar situations.
In some ways, I wanted to reach other parents who are in a similar place with their kid. I also, though, I wanted to write a book that, and this sounds kind of corny, but down the road, I wanted Schuyler to know. I wanted her to know how I felt. Okay. And so, in a lot of ways, I think of this as almost like a love letter. The best love letter I could write to Schuyler.
What are some of the things that you share with readers in your book here about Schuyler?
I wanted to share, obviously, the struggles that we went through, the kind of procedures and whatnot that we went through with her. But also, I wanted to show a little of her spirit. Okay. She's not easily frustrated. She's not as sad as I can be about this, and it's something that can get really sad. For any parent who's in a situation like that will feel a certain amount of sadness. Schuyler doesn't feel that sadness. She's tenacious. Something comes up, she'll knock it down. So I think a lot of what I wanted to show was just how this kid could overcome something like this. Because when you've got someone you've got this little kid who can overcome something like this. I think maybe when you read about Schuyler, it's easy to look at your own life and say, well, if she can do that, then then I can overcome the monsters in my life as well.
Exactly. Where's the book available? How can one get more information on it?
The book, I think it's available. I know it's available at Barnes & Noble and Borders and all the major outlets, and it's also available online. So we've gotten a lot of publicity.
And the title of that book, we should say, is Schuyler's Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And how does she feel about the book? Seeing herself on the cover.
There's going to be no living with her soon. Every time we go into a bookstore and she finds it, she'll point to herself and say, "That's me." So she's enjoying this. I don't think she has an idea of kind of the scope of it, but she goes to school and tells her friends, "I'm in a book," or "I was in a magazine." Now Daddy's on TV. There'll be no living with her soon.
It's fantastic that she's doing so well and doesn't mind at all being kind of a celebrity, I suppose.
We'll ask her again when she's a teenager how she feels about it. But right now, she feels pretty good. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, and give
me.
Schuyler
Really
our best.
I will. I absolutely will.
We hope that she'll have much, continued improvement. Schuyler's Monster is the title of the book by Robert Rummel-Hudson. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right.